There have been so many stars in the history of rock over the years that it was impossible to forget some of the legends. They touched our hearts and left their mark. Unfortunately, some of them left us early. Today, we are going to talk about 10 rock legends who passed away between 1959 and 1994. Among them are some of the world's greatest guitar virtuosos and vocalists from legendary bands, some of whom may surprise you. Without further ado, let's get into the video. First on our list is Buddy Holly. Born Charles Hardin Holly in Lubbock, Texas in 1936, he began his music career in 1956 when he formed the band The Crickets. With his band, The Crickets, he released hits such as That'll Be the Day, Peggy Sue, and Oh Boy. Buddy Holly was a singer, guitarist, and innovative songwriter. In his early 20s, he was at the top of the music world, and bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones were even inspired by his songwriting techniques and arrangements. During a busy winter tour, he rented a small plane to travel more comfortably. On February 3, 1959, the plane crashed shortly after taking off due to bad weather in Iowa. Along with Buddy Holly, young talents Ritchie Valens and the Big Bopper also lost their lives in the accident. This event went down in history as The Day the Music Died, immortalized by Don McLean in his song American Pie. Buddy Holly was only 22 years old when he died. Second on our list is Ritchie Valens.
Come on, let's go, little darling.
Buddy Holly wasn't the only legend to lose his life in that tragic accident. Ritchie Valens, real name Richard Stephen Valenzuela, was born in California to a family of Mexican descent. He combined Latin melodies with the popular rock and roll sound of the time and became one of the most important pioneers of the movement known as Chicano rock. He was discovered and performed with incredible speed. He interpreted La Bamba in his own rock and roll style and made it a hit. The fact that this song, despite being in Spanish, topped the charts in the late 1950s in the US made Valens special. Exhausted by the harsh weather conditions during the tour, Valens boarded the plane rented by Buddy Holly to go from Minnesota to the next stop, and unfortunately, this was his last trip. On February 3, 1959, the plane crashed shortly after takeoff, and Ritchie Valens was just 17 years old, can you imagine? And died along with Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper. Third on our list is Brian Jones. You know the Rolling Stones, the man who laid the foundation of the Rolling Stones, gave them their name and shaped their sound in the early years. Brian Jones. Louis Brian Hopkin. Jones was born on February 28, 1942, in Cheltenham, England. He was passionate about the blues since he was a little boy. It was Brian Jones who founded the Rolling Stones in London in 1962. With Mick Jagger and Keith Richards joining the band, the Rolling Stones' identity took shape. But over time, Jones's leadership weakened due to personal problems and addiction, with lawsuits preventing the band from obtaining U.S. visas and a decline in stage performances. The Rolling Stones dropped Brian Jones from the band in 1969. Just a month later, on July 3, 1969, Brian Jones was found dead in the swimming pool of his home in Sussex. The official report recorded the cause of death as accidental drowning, but there were many conspiracy theories about Jones's death. Fourth on our list is Jimi Hendrix, who everyone will recognize. James Marshall Hendrix was born in Seattle on November 27, 1942. He had a difficult life during his childhood. He taught himself how to play the guitar and began to attract attention with his talent at a young age. In the early 1960s, the young Hendrix gained stage experience playing with great artists such as Little Richard and the Isley Brothers. However, he shone even brighter when he went to London. In 1966, a manager named Chaz Chandler discovered Hendrix's talent and invited him to England. Here, he formed the band The Jimi Hendrix Experience and became a worldwide phenomenon. Hendrix's first album, Are You Experienced, released in 1967, became one of the biggest debut albums in rock history. His performance at the Monterey Pop Festival in 1967, where he played by burning his guitar, was engraved in rock history. By 1970, the pressure on Hendrix was increasing. constant touring, problems with record labels, and complications in his personal life caused him to become increasingly exhausted. And on September 18, 1970, at the age of just 27, he died in a London hotel room. The cause of death was recorded as asphyxiation due to pills taken during sleep. Janis Joplin is fifth on our list. Janis Joplin was born on January 9, 1943, in a small town in Texas. As a child, she always felt different. She was interested in blues and folk music. In 1966, she moved to San Francisco and stepped into the new capital of rock music. Here, he joined the band Big Brother and the Holding Company. And in 1967, he attracted attention with his performance at the Monterey Pop Festival. The Cheap Thrills album she released with her band was a huge success with songs like Piece of My Heart. However, Joplin later turned to a solo career. Janis Joplin achieved her real success with the album Pearl, which she recorded in 1970. Songs such as Me and Bobby McGee, Cry Baby, and Mercedes-Benz were among her most memorable works. As powerful as she seemed on stage, she struggled with loneliness and depression in her private life. The use of addictive substances took more and more hold of him, and on October 4, 1970, she died of these things in a hotel room in Los Angeles. The album Pearl was released a few months after his death and became his biggest success. Sixth on our list is James Douglas Morrison.
When the music's over here.
James Douglas Morrison was born on December 8, 1943 in Florida. From an early age, he had a great interest in literature and art. That's why he studied film at university and started writing poetry. In 1965, in Los Angeles, together with Ray Manzarek, Robbie Krieger, and John Densmore, they decided to form The Doors. The band soon attracted attention with its unique psychedelic and blues rock style. Their first album, The Doors, released in 1967, was a huge hit in the music world. Songs such as Light My Fire, Break On Through, To the Other Side, and The End became unforgettable. Was fond of freedom and had an eccentric attitude, addiction affected his stage performances and made him more and more unstable. In 1969, he was accused of lewd behavior at a Miami concert, and this was a major turning point in his career. In 1971, he moved to Paris, but even here he could not escape his past. On July 3, 1971, at the age of 27, he was found dead in the bathroom of his Paris apartment. The official cause of death was recorded as heart failure, but many believe he died of other causes. Seventh on our list is Chris Bell. Christopher Branford Bell was born on January 12, 1951 in Memphis, Tennessee. He was interested in music from an early age and became a Beatles fan during his teenage years. He played in several local bands in the late 1960s, but the moment that really changed his destiny was when he met Alex Chilton. In 1971, Chris Bell formed Big Star with Alex Chilton, Jody Stevens, and Andy Hummel. The band received great acclaim in music circles with their 1972 album, No One Record. Unfortunately, the album was not a commercial success. Bell couldn't stand the band's failure and his own internal struggles and left Big Star. Bell had a rough time after leaving Big Star, struggling with depression and addictive substances. He worked on his own solo projects and recorded the song I Am the Cosmos in 1978. On December 27, 1978, he was killed in Memphis when he crashed his car into a utility pole while returning from his family's restaurant. He was only 27 years old. After his death, his music was discovered by more and more people. In 1992, Bell's legacy finally got the recognition it deserved when the album I Am the Cosmos was released. Eighth on our list is Randy Rhoads. Randall William Rhoads was born on December 6, 1956 in Santa Monica, California. His mother was a music teacher, which introduced him to the guitar at a very young age. He studied classical music and perfected his technique. As a teenager, he formed Quiet Riot and entered the music world. By the late 1970s, he had become one of the standout talents on the LA music scene. But the moment that made him a legend was when he met Ozzy Osbourne. In 1979, Ozzy Osbourne was looking for a guitarist to start a new solo career after leaving Black Sabbath. Rhoads auditioned, and Ozzy was mesmerized at first listen. The album Blizzard of Oz, released in 1980, became one of the biggest albums in heavy metal history. Tracks like Crazy Train, Mr. Crowley, and I Don't Know helped Rhoads become legendary. A year later, the album Diary of a Madman was also a huge success. On March 19, 1982, Ozzy Osbourne and his band were in Florida on tour. Rhoads decided to take a short ride in an airplane near his tour bus. However, the pilot failed to control the plane and it crashed into a building, ending the life of 25-year-old Randy Rhoads. Ninth on our list is Kurt Cobain. Kurt Donald Cobain was born on February 20th, 1967 in the town of Aberdeen, Washington. He had divorced parents, which affected him deeply. His childhood was filled with loneliness and restlessness, and that's why music was like his friend. He was introduced to punk rock and indie music at a young age. In 1987, he formed Nirvana with Chris Novoselic, and they proved themselves with the album Bleach in 1989. And they peaked with the album Nevermind, released in 1991, with songs like Smells Like Teen Spirit, Come As You Are, Lithium, and In Bloom. Nirvana had big hits, but the fame overwhelmed him a bit. Kurt hated the attention that fame brought. In 1992, he married Courtney Love, and the couple had a daughter, Frances Bean. In early 1994, Cobain's condition worsened. He entered rehab for treatment, but soon escaped. On April 5, 1994, he ended his life with a shotgun at his Seattle home. He became another rock legend like Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, and Janis Joplin, who passed away at the age of 27. And finally, 10th on our list is Jeffrey Scott Buckley. Jeffrey Scott Buckley was born on November 17, 1966 in Anaheim, California. His father was Tim Buckley, an important figure in 70s folk music, but Jeff hardly knew his father. His passion for music came from his mother and stepfather. He started playing guitar at a young age and grew up immersed in classic rock, jazz, and folk music. In the late 1980s, he played in various bands in Los Angeles. However, he found his real break by performing solo in New York. Grace, released in 1994, was Jeff Buckley's first and only studio album. The album became legendary for its unique vocals, poetic lyrics, and melancholic melodies. Especially his rendition of Hallelujah gave Leonard Cohen's song a completely different spirit and made it Buckley's signature song. In 1997, Buckley was working on his second album. While recording in Memphis on the evening of May 29, 1997, he went into the Mississippi River and never came back. According to witnesses, he was having fun in the water with his clothes on, but was suddenly swept away by the strong current. The search went on for days, and on June 4th, his body was found. The cause of his drowning was declared to be purely accidental, and he was only 30 years old.